Hey guys, Constance here. Welcome back to A Good Life Farm. So I have little Miss Willa with me out here in the greenhouse. I know I feel like a broken record, but I wanted to give a little bit of an update on the pig situation, which I'll get to in just a second. But I had planned on doing my pressure canning recipe for the taco meat. Unfortunately, I had a little bit of a hitch in my plans for the week, namely named Miss Willow. I had completely forgotten that we were going to be babysitting this week. It was little Miss Willow's first overnighter. She spent the night so that our son and daughter-in-law could go on a special little trip and have some time together. And so, yes, when you are not accustomed to having a little one in the house and you suddenly have a little one in the house, it kind of messes up your plans, but in a good way, of course. And so that is why I did not share the taco meat recipe this week. I am, however, going to do it next week. I've got it written down. It is part of the plan, so you can expect to see that tomorrow, or next week I should say. I'm trying to move this so I'm not so backlit. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Alright, so I have had, I don't even know how many people tell me that I needed to go check out the Arms Family Homestead. I think that's what it was called. And I did, because that family has been dealing with wild pigs just like we are here currently. And a ton of people said, you know, go check out what they're doing there. You know, they brought in somebody to have them trap and all of that. Now, they live in another state, and maybe they have access to somebody who can do it for them at a better rate. I don't know, but I actually did look for someone in our area who does wildlife removal and specifically wild pigs, and quite honestly, I can't afford that. It's more than my mortgage. Okay, we do have a mortgage on our property because, you know, we didn't have the ability to pay cash for it. To have someone come out and set up a trap is more than my mortgage is. And quite frankly, I cannot afford that. And that's, yeah, I would love to be able to do that. It's just not possible. I have reached out to the state. I have reached out to the county. I've talked to every office I can think of, and every office they can think of, and quite frankly, we're on our own here. It's just not, there's just no, according to the state of Alabama, there are just not that many wild pigs here, and so they do not have funding allocated for resources for dealing with wild pigs in this part of the state. Now, there are 3 little bitty pockets in the state of Alabama where they are doing a trial run of some wild pig programs, and in those areas, if you are dealing with wild pigs, they will have someone come out and trap them and pay for it. Or if you get a trap yourself, they will pay a large portion of that. And folks, these traps, the cheapest one I found is $2,000. I just don't have that kind of money laying around that I can just drop on something like that. Now, that said, I did have a long conversation with the Farm Services office in our county, and the guy in particular there that I've been speaking with, he has been extremely helpful, and he's been racking his brain trying to come up with resources for us, and there's just there's just not resources out there, not in our area. And he did, however, suggest doing some cattle panel traps. And this is something that I have looked into, and it might end up being something that we decide to try if the pigs continue to be around. And so far they are. Every night we have pigs coming out. They're tearing down the fence around our A-frame chicken coop, the poly fencing. Every night or every morning we're having to fix it. Every day I've got more spots out here on the property that have been turned over, like a tiller has gotten a hold of it. And so we may end up giving that a try. And he gave me some pointers on those. There are 2 different ways of doing it. They're really simple, and it uses things that we've already got here on the homestead. Cattle panels, some fencing, even chicken wire to kind of fill in the spaces, and T-posts. All stuff we've got readily available here on the homestead. So we've got some people coming out this weekend to assist in the removal of some pigs. And if we find ourselves still dealing with it, I think we will go ahead and give those cattle panel traps a try. And I will take you guys through the process of how we do it, and all of that, and we'll see what happens. But hopefully the people that we have coming out will be able to make a big dent in the numbers and help us get down to manageable numbers. This is not a service, it's just some people that we know who wild hogs is kind of their thing. So yeah, hopefully this all works out well. And it looks like Miss Willow is starting to go to sleep. But yeah, and you know, there were so many people who were like, put them in your freezer, but you know, they don't know I don't eat pork. People have talked about you should raise them and sell them. These pigs are technically considered wildlife. They're a nuisance, but they are considered wildlife, and it's illegal to sell them. And I don't want them. I don't want pigs on my property. The ones that we did catch, the ones that we have left, they are in an area that is supposed to be for my goats. This past week, I was actually going to take our bucklings into that area to let them become friendly with the rest of the goats so that we could breed. That area was set aside for raising young goats, and my shed was set up for milking. That's why I built it the way that I did. And now I've got pigs in there, and that is space that I currently cannot use. And so once these pigs go, that's that. I don't want any more pigs. Oh, and speaking of pigs and fencing, that is something that is now becoming an issue. The ones that are still coming out of the woods at night, they're now working on my goat fencing. They are digging underneath it, like trying to get in where my goats are. And so it looks like I need to run a hot wire around the outside of my goat fence to keep the pigs from digging underneath. You know, if they get zapped by an electric fence, then hopefully that will discourage them from doing that, because the fencing that I use for my goat areas is really, it's not cheap fencing. It's not like, I don't know, the $30 a roll stuff that you use around like my gardens just for keeping rabbits and stuff out. It's heavy duty. Our donkey and mule could rub against it and it doesn't go anywhere. But these pigs are another story. So yes, it is a challenge. I mean, this is just life on the homestead. When you are faced with challenges, sometimes, you know, sometimes there isn't somebody who can come to the rescue. Sometimes it is up to you to figure it out. I wish that there was funding in this part of the state, but there isn't. And so we are going to do the best that we can to take care of the problem to the best of our ability, and at the very least take some of these numbers down, because you know, wild pigs are a problem. And like I said, there was all sorts of suggestions on our videos. Oh, and hunters, oh my word. You know, we had the footage and photos from my social media of that first night and morning that the pigs were out here was shared by one of the local news stations, and I have been overrun by countless people wanting to come and hunt on our land and help us fix the problem, and yeah, just volunteering. They're just crawling out of the woodwork, just complete strangers all wanting to come and help because they see an opportunity to do a little bit of hunting. That's not going to happen. You know, like I said, we do have a couple people who are coming this weekend who are going to do a little bit. However, I'm not going to bring strangers here. I'm not going to put my address out in the public for people to just show up. That's not happening, for any number of reasons, but first and foremost, safety. You know, we live here, we have animals here, and the last thing that we need is some yahoo with a rifle who isn't careful doing something harmful and dangerous. So, yeah. And I even posted in a farming group, an Alabama farming group, just looking at finding some information about pig traps. And I posted on there, I don't need any hunters, I just need information. And still, private messages galore. I'll come fix your pig problem. I'm sure you will. No. So this week I finished up all of my content for the magazine that I write for, and I did have a few people ask, people who are newer here. I write for a local magazine called Hearts of Living, and I am the food and drink writer. Of course, I share recipes that are published in the magazine, but then I also interview local businesses, usually restaurants, sometimes not. The interview that I did most recently was actually a farm, and this farm has been in existence since the 1830s, when the family settled here in northern Alabama, and they have been farming ever since. And it's called Reeves Peach Farm, and it's here in my area. And a couple years ago they built their own big farm market that they sell, you know, all the produce and all that stuff. Well, they also, in the last year or so, added a restaurant to the farm market. And so I went there and interviewed the owner and got the whole story to share with the readers of the magazine, because it is a hyper-local magazine. And I do write at times for other publications, but generally publications in my region, newspapers. I've done like restaurant guides and things like that for a couple of the counties and all of that. So currently that is who I write for, in addition to, of course, my websites. Oh, I've also this week been planning out my menu for Passover. I am looking forward to that. I have been celebrating Passover for quite a few years, and every year I like to do the menu a little bit different, and so that is what I've been working on this year. The other day I did send out my newsletter with several Passover recipes. There was something called matzah crack or matzah candy, which I did a video on last year. And it is basically a toffee kind of candy with chocolate, and you make it out of matzah crackers, but you can also do it with soda crackers if you have on if you have those on hand, also called saltines, and they are delicious. Not at all sugar-free or paleo or healthy, but a once-a-year treat. I think they're fine for. I also shared the chocolate chip meringue cookie recipe, and then several main dish recipes that are great for a special occasion like a holiday or a nice family dinner or something along those lines. Roast beef, some brisket recipes, and things like that. So I have been working on my menu. And with that, I am going to take this little one into the house. It's actually getting close to her next feeding, so whenever she wakes up, she is going to be hungry. So next week, I will be back to my regular lineup with the videos. This week, we had a little bit of a hiccup, but that's okay. So thanks for joining me here again in the greenhouse. My name is Constance at A Good Life Farm, and I will talk to you all next time.